Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Snackables, where we chew on all things related to food, specifically plant-based foods. Now, this is not Jessica, is it? This is also not Amy Mackey. And as you know, Jessica Hegarty is on maternity leave. She and her husband Evan had a little baby girl named Ellie. We're so excited for them, and so she'll be on maternity leave for about another 2 months. On our last episode, we had Amy Mackey, who's been part of the PLANTSTRONG team for, probably 7 years or so, and we chewed on all things related to building bowls and how easy that can be, building these no recipe bowls. Today, I want to introduce you to a very special person who's actually been with me longer than anyone else. This is Brenda Reed.
Hi, Rip.
Hi, Brenda. Thank you so much for coming over.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And Brenda, we first met. She went to culinary school here, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And what was the name of the school?
It was the Natural Epicurean.
Yeah, the Natural Epicurean. And we were doing an event. It's actually the event where Amy Mackey came for the first time.
It is.
And it's over on the east side. It's a farm. Can you remember the name of the farm?
Yeah, Boggy Creek Farms.
Boggy Creek Farms. And you actually were part of the culinary team.
I was. It was amazing.
And that was like your first foray into kind of being part of the PLANTSTRONG team. And now you are, for the last almost decade, you've been our head chef at all of our retreats.
I have.
And so you've become miraculous at problem solving, at figuring out, how to make this, and this when you don't have this, and that. And we all believe that you are a miracle worker.
Aw, thanks, Rip.
So it's really appropriate that we have you on the show today, and our listeners get to meet you, and how you can give them some simple, I think, tips to elevate and enhance their cooking at home, especially as we head into the holidays. So with Thanksgiving right around the corner, do you have any plans?
Oh, actually, I do. We are headed to Holbox, Mexico. There are 32 of us all on the same flight out of Austin on next Saturday morning, 6 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can officially say I am jealous.
Oh, I'm so excited. We've been waiting for this forever. I turned 50 this past February.
Yeah.
So this is my 50th birthday trip with some family and friends.
Well, I'm super excited for you, and I'm sure it's going to be well deserved.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Wow.
There are 12 kids under 12 going to be with us as well.
Yeah.
Should be fun.
Never a dull moment.
No.
Well, we are picking up, and we're going to fly to Cleveland. And
Wonderful.
We're going to be with my parents, Ann and Essie, for about a week.
Aww.
And then right next door to Ann and Essie lives my sister Jane and her husband Brian Hart, and then their 3 kids that are now, they're out of the house in college, but they'll be coming back. So it'll be really fun, and my kids love hanging out with their cousins, and we'll probably go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and if I can score tickets, maybe a Cleveland Browns football game.
Oh, yeah.
And then maybe the Natural History Museum, things like that.
Well, if I can, I'm going to try to hang in a hammock on the beach, perhaps swim in the ocean, and right out of my hotel room. Yeah. There's only 15 rooms at the actual place, so I think we're occupying 12 of them.
All right, I need a full report when you get back.
Absolutely. Lifetime trip. So excited about it.
Oh my gosh. Well, so let's just dive into, so the weather's turning, it's starting to get cold, we're approaching the holiday season, and so I thought it would be wonderful if we talked all things soups.
Oh, amazing. I love soup.
I love soup too. To me, it's like a warm hug.
Yep.
And there's nothing as comforting and delicious and soothing as a good soup. So let's just jump right in. I think it can help people live more plant strong when you're consistently making a good soup.
I think so.
And I think I'll just ask you. So So do you have like a favorite soup that you like to make, or do you have a key when it comes to soups? Or
I do have a favorite soup. It's kabocha, like a squash soup, or kabocha. People say it all different ways. I say kabocha because it sounds cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love to work with squashes and soups. Definitely. They are plentiful this time of year and wonderful. And I don't know if you know the origin of soup, though. Have you ever thought about how it was created, how it came along?
I think about it all the time. I had a dream about it last night. No, will you please share with me?
Oh, absolutely. I will please share with you. So the etymology of the word soup actually has like German roots, they first think, and it was basically like SOP, like sop, and it was basically to consume liquid. And then somewhere along the line, it took a little turn and it hopped over into what's Latin, that language that from a long time ago, and it became like suppa, and it was mostly like that's how supper became created. But at that time, it was like people didn't really have spoons and they weren't necessarily drinking the soup, so they used it as consuming liquid with bread. And so you would kind of dunk the bread in there and then eat the soup. And then at some point, of course, the French, they picked it up. And it became like soaking bread in liquid, really hearty, let's eat it type of thing. So that's the origin of it. And then when it became kind of, to us, it was supper, soup. And people think of soup in all sorts of ways. Like, I don't know, do you like thick soup, thin soup, chunky soup?
I can't stand a thin, soup. I need something that's got a lot of heart. It's like, you can float a spoon on top of it.
Oh.
Yeah. I like stews, chilies, hearty soups.
Yes.
For sure.
And we do have some good stews and chilies out there on the Plant Strong family. I can tell you, I got counted off on my soup in culinary school because it was too thick. Because it at that time, it was supposed to be lifted from the bowl and you churn the spoon and it's supposed to run off nicely. And mine was a little too thick.
Well, I'd be okay with a thinner soup. I just don't like a broth, just a real brothy, like a ramen soup or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I love ramen type soups.
Unless it's a bangin' bok choy, and then I do love those.
Oh, yes. We should talk about that one in a little bit.
Let's talk about that in a little bit.
Well, as far as some techniques I have, I kind of think of like 3 principles when I'm going to create a soup. The first one I think of is, what's the consistency going to be? Yours is going to be thick.
Yep.
Mine's not going to be too thin, but it's going to be kind of somewhere in the middle, depending on what I'm doing. And then I think, well, what are my key ingredients? Because you can do anything with soup. You don't even need a recipe. You can just put whatever the heck you want in it.
Yeah.
And then I think about the preparation method. And oftentimes people think about like a soup or a stew, cooking all day long and making those aromas in the house. And that is great. But then from what I gathered from Amy's talk with you, a while back, easy and simple.
Yeah.
And there are some really easy and simple ways to just do soups and stews and not even think much about them. Sometimes where you just roast everything in the oven and then later add a little bit of broth and just blend it and it's ready to go. So it doesn't have to complicate.
It sounds like, and I think I learned this in talking to either Chad Sarnow or Derek Sarnow when I had them on the podcast.
They're wonderful. Oh, yeah.
And they talked about how you just want to have all these different kind of like layers of flavors, and roasting and caramelizing and toasting really helps give that.
Oh, absolutely. When you can get things, you can get aromatics, so onions and garlic going in the pot. If you have like a little crock pot or something that you cook in, or a little Dutch oven, get those going like on that really hot flame, and then just add a little water and deglaze it. Right there, you already have a nice little base that's going to add that caramelization layer piece. Yeah. Then you just add water and add vegetables, and you just let it go for a while. And I think one of the things people always wonder is, how much liquid do I put in it?
Yeah.
Right? And it really just depends on what the heck are you going to do with it. Is it going to be thick and chunky, or somewhere in the middle, or super runny? And basically, I always just let my vegetables go, and then I cover the liquid to the top of the vegetables for a while, and then just simmer them. If I'm just making some sort of simple vegetable soup, or I get my kabocha squash cut up. And one of the key things, too, I think people need to do in the preparation is think about the vegetable. Is it going to break apart really quickly? or is it going to take a longer time to cook? You know, and if it's going to take a longer time to cook, you definitely want to make smaller chunks or dices. And if it's going to break apart, you can leave those a little bigger, like some half moons.
So give me an example of some vegetables that break apart easily and others that take longer.
Yellow squash, zucchini, they break apart really easily. The longer ones are going to be your harder winter squashes, the pumpkins, the kabocha squash, the butternut squash. Oh, do you peel your squash if you're going to make a soup, like your butternut or kabocha?
Yes, I do.
You do? Okay.
Is that a miss?
No. Do you cut yourself when you peel? Or is it hard?
Not lately.
Not like. Have you ever cut yourself when you peel?
Sure,
Oh,
absolutely.
me too. Oh, me too. I recently stopped peeling my squashes, and especially if you get a big old kabocha squash, right? Have you seen one?
Oh yeah.
They're like a green, like pumpkin kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, have you tried to peel one of those?
No, I can't say I have.
Yeah, and then you got to cut it, and you're hacking it, and you just really want to be careful in the kitchen, right? You don't want to make this amazing soup for your family and then have your hands all bandaged up. So I've recently just really taken to cutting the squash, the kabocha, the harder winter ones, and then roasting them and just getting them a little moisture, putting them on some parchment paper on 400, seasoning them up. If you put a little water on them first, or if you want to do some sort of tamari, low sodium tamari or something, you just need them to be a little bit damp when you go to put the seasoning on them. If you're going to put them on parchment paper and straight into the oven, otherwise they're going to dry out really fast, right? So you want those pieces to be small. So that if you are going to blend them later, they'll blend up nicely. But if you're going to take the skin off after you roast them, then you can just peel the skin off, right? Get them into the pot, put your liquid in, and get them going.
That's a great. I don't want to call it a trick, but it's a great technique.
Right.
So you don't have to like try and peel that crazy skin off when it's not cooked.
Right. And you could eat the skin. The problem is if you don't want your soup to be green,
Yeah.
like the color of the skin, you might want to take it off. But you could eat the skin.
So that's great. Let me ask you this, and then I want to chime in. Do you have like a favorite soup that you make, like, I don't know, every week or every couple weeks?
Well, you know how you spoke of the Sarno brothers?
Yeah.
So that Boggy Creek Farm event, Derek Sarno was actually the lead on that. So when I was in culinary school getting my externship hours, I got to see how he moves and shakes, right? So I'm a huge fan of the Sarno brothers, and I definitely think they have some amazing techniques. And they have a take that's really, really good on like a corn chowder, a potato and corn chowder. That is my go-to all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And you, Rip, have actually convinced me that it is okay to use frozen vegetables and frozen grains.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. They're actually good.
Well, it's funny you talk of that corn chowder. I think it's potato corn chowder.
Yeah.
But actually it's in the Whole Foods cookbook.
Oh, right.
That actually, I think it was Chad, helped with the recipes in it.
Right.
And I was having dinner over at John Mackey's house, and he actually served that one night, and I think I went back for force. It was so good.
Oh, yeah. I ate at least 4 to 5 bowls in one setting. And I don't know if you know this, but there is a grocery chain store out there that's that sells a fire roasted frozen corn.
Oh, yes. Oh. Yeah, Trader Joe's, right?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. No,
It's so good.
I know I love getting it.
Yeah.
And it's that fire roasted corn gives it so much flavor.
Oh, it does.
Fire roasted
wonderful.
anything.
Fire
really
roasted
helps.
anything is great.
But
yeah.
especially corn. It's so versatile.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So, when I graduated from the University of Texas at Austin, I immediately started to cook, right? Because I wasn't eating on the athletic training table any longer. And I would say that for the next 10 years, while I was kind of, a bachelor and a triathlete, I would rotate between 3 different soups that I would make one every week. And I'd make a huge batch, and it would last me for a couple days. And that's one of the things I love about soup, right? Is how you make it, and then you can have it for leftovers. You can freeze it. You can add ingredients to it and kind of like, make it, change it up a little bit. You can put it on top of green leafies, different grains. It's wonderful. But so I would rotate between just a 3-bean chili. Okay. That, just love a good chili. Just a split pea soup, right? With just just potatoes, onions, garlic, and then a red lentil soup. Those 3. Okay. Right? Just simple soups that, me who wasn't much of a cook would rotate through. And now, I'm starting to up my game a little bit. And when I wrote the Engine 2 diet, which was the first book, had a bunch of soups in there. And do you have a soup that you love making when you have company over, like for the Super Bowl or something like that?
I'm going to say go-to is going to be a chili, more like a stew, just because it's hearty. You can put a ton of vegetables in it, and it's really, and I let it go all day. I mean, low and slow, because then all the spices and the flavors really start to meld, and then you come out on top with just something really wonderful, like a little sourdough or some cornbread or something. Oh, yeah. I would say chili. Chili's the bomb.
Yeah, and with every one of my soups, I always usually toast 1 or 2 pieces of whole grain bread. Yes. And then I dip it in the soup, almost like it's a spoon. Oh yeah. Try and take my time so I don't go through the bread too fast.
Medieval times.
But, yes. I think that. So the soup that I love when we have company coming over, actually, I think my wife, Jill, actually adores it more than I do, but it's the Mexican lime soup from the Engine 2 diet, and it really pairs well with the vegetable broth, and it is basically it's onions, garlic, red potatoes, mushrooms, like 5 different poblano peppers that you have to roast
them first
and de-seed, and then it's corn on the cob. But it's not corn off the cob. You just cut up
like the frozen ones.
I don't know if I've ever gotten frozen.
They're not as good. They're not as good.
Yeah. No, this is. I think it's important that the corn be fresh. Okay. But slice up that, let it all just kind of all those flavors meld together for a while, and then you take it out, and then you put on top of it cilantro, a squeeze of lemon, tomatoes, freshly cut avocado, and then if you want to, we bake our own chips from corn tortillas, and that is just divine.
Oh yeah, that sounds amazing.
Absolutely love it.
Did you make some for us?
Yeah. Carrie, get after it.
Sounds great, everyone. Speaking of all your soups and that one, I wanted to kind of go back to your red lentil one that you did in college, because I think for the listeners out there, that is such a quick and simple soup. When we were talking about things that break apart quickly, red lentils, right? You're not having to sort and soak and do all those things that you might do with brown or green lentils. So you could just do some onion and a garlic base. Again, on that, caramelize it, deglaze it, put the red lentils in, and then choose your spice, what you want to do. Do you remember what you used to season yours with in college?
It was just the basics. Back then it was just, it was salt and pepper, maybe like red chili flakes.
It takes very little for red lentils. Yeah. And they're so healthy, and they're just right up there on top. And then when I think about like a red lentil or something like that, I might take a Yukon Gold potato and, put it on top of that, almost if it was a chili. And then I don't know how you feel about arugula.
I adore arugula.
Oh, me too. Yeah, that peppery.
It's a pirate's favorite green leafy.
Oh.
Arugula.
Really? I'll have to tell that to my son tonight. Yes, he's 5, and he hasn't quite gotten the concept of jokes yet, so I'll have to help him out for sure. But I serve it with arugula and a baby kale type of little thing, some little shaved red onion, and a little tomato on it. It's a great accoutrement to the red lentils. A little balsamic vinegar.
Sweet.
Yeah, it works.
So I want you all to know that we on the whole PLANTSTRONG team, we trust this woman so much that we actually tasked her with taking all of our new veggie broths. So the slow simmered vegetable, the shiitake mushroom, the Spanish style sofrito, and the, what am I missing? Do you know?
Yes, I was listening. Was it the shiitake mushroom?
No.
The sofrito, the corn.
The sweet corn. Right?
We love corn.
We love corn. And the sweet corn. And tasked you with basically, because they're so versatile, they can just enhance and elevate so many different recipes, but specifically coming up with a really kick-ass recipe using these broths that people can make. And I'd love it if you would just talk maybe about one or two of the recipes.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say thanks, because that was a really fun task that I was super intimidated by at first. And you might think, why, if you're back in the kitchen preparing from 100 to 800? Because we don't really use recipes in the back of the house. You know, we use the intuition, or just, this looks good, or this is what we have. And so when it came down to the specifics of writing a recipe that could serve 4 to 6 or 6 to 8, it really made me think. Then I realized I enjoyed it. And I realized it only took about a week to come up with 4 of them, and then kind of test them. And it was a really cool concept. And I think the two that struck, well, I want to mention all 4 of them real quick, and then I'll get into one of them. But I thought what was amazing was, if you've tried the broth, I wanted to speak specifically to the broth as the component of why a broth is a broth. So broths are kind of already have an elevated flavor profile to them, because traditionally they came off of stock. You'd kind of slop off the stock that had been simmering on the low flame all day long, because the stock was just something that was reserved and kept over a flame and going for your lifetime back in the day, right? But we don't have that luxury anymore. So a broth is more enhanced and more refined and more flavorful, and you can often maybe even sip it. So with the sofrito broth, I wanted to actually go for a paella. And I mean, I've traveled to Spain and had paella before, and it's amazing. And a lot of paella obviously is like animal things that swim in the sea and stuff, that we don't eat. So I was like, we got to have a veggie paella. So I kind of took on that task, and I do not like green peas. I don't like them.
Yeah.
So I put chickpeas in it. Yeah. But I will say that sofrito broth and that paella is a little intricate. It takes a little bit of time, because you want to go like a longer slow and low. So it might be a great holiday preparation. If you want to have a paella as one of your, guest dishes. But the one I really want to talk about today is so simple. Our shiitake mushroom broth stands alone. It is so good. And it was so easy just to take that shiitake mushroom and turn it into your favorite kind of soups, ramen and pho, or pho or pho. Please excuse me, choose how you say it. But Rip, I gotta ask you.
Yeah.
Why do you not like that kind of soup?
I think it's probably because whenever I've gone to like a pho restaurant, it's just so salty.
Oh,
and I just find that I'm drinking water, I'm drying
a gallon,
up. Yeah. So,
how do we not make it salty?
Well, and we know that this mushroom broth only has 20 milligrams of sodium per serving, so that's pretty darn good.
Oh yeah, it's so standalone. So this mushroom broth, well, I get it. So one of the main differences between ramen and pho is that pho is typically a rice noodle. And the ramen is typically a wheat noodle, okay? And then you can go back, is it China or Japan? And you can go back through all these origins. But the thing about it is it's quick and easy. So the mushroom broth, have you ever heard of star anise?
Star anise? I've heard of anise.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know what the first thing you said, though.
Star. Like starlight, star bright.
Star anise.
First star anise I put in my broth tonight.
You have to help me.
So it has more of like a licorice, like a little bit of a licorice flavor, right? Okay. So in the recipe, actually, do you have a box of the shiitake mushroom broth?
I do.
Is it handy?
I can grab it because I have them all right here.
Yeah.
Yes, right here.
Because on the back of this, there's a QR code.
Yeah, little QR code. If you don't know what a QR code is, it's actually this little kind of like, what does it almost look like to you?
Oh, it's like a circle with an alien.
Circle with an alien
in
it. And then you just put your phone on camera mode. You don't have to click anything. You hold it up, and then it basically will then spit out a link, and then you click the link, and then it takes you right to
the bangin' bok choy noodle soup. You know what's interesting? I thought all QR codes had to be square, so they're not. So you're looking on the back of that box for a little round spaceship thing. Yep. So the broth, all I did was I wanted it to have more of a pho kind of flavor, so I put star anise in it. And I guess if you don't have any, you could just throw licorice in it. But why would any of our listeners have licorice? Yes, probably not. Well, anyway, so it gave it a little bit of flavor, and just whole garlic cloves, and just get it kind of simmering around in the broth for a while and lifting out the star anise. But the highlights of this were lots of cremini mushrooms, just all chopped up, and like baby bok choy, like full on big baby bok choy things. And then the ramen I chose to use, because I actually wanted it to be a rice noodle, but it's called ramen in the Lotus Foods ramen that we use. I'm going to actually, you know what? It's kind of crazy.
And you like this kind, because you actually do gluten-free, right?
Well, I do, but mostly now I'm trying to eat more gluten in my life. But there's this brand out here called Lotus Foods, and they call them rice ramen, and they come in like this brick right here, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this takes about 4 minutes to to soften and cook up, and it's going to tell you to cook it separately from the package. I don't want another pot. I want one pot. So I've got my broth going, take out my star anise, I leave the garlic in there, maybe even roast it, and then throw this in there and let it get going and break it all up. Then I'll just throw the bok choy in, the mushrooms, grate ginger. Not like great ginger, but grate ginger. Do you use ginger at all in your cooking? I got some ginger here.
Yes. I make a lot of sauces with it.
So if you're not familiar with ginger, they come in like fingers, and really, you know what I do is I pull it off, and you might be catching this about me, but I don't like to use a lot of extra things, and I actually don't like to cut the skin off things.
Yep.
So what I do is I just take the ginger with the skin on, I do not peel it, and I just grate it all right into there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Skin and all.
Skin and all. And the skin might get stuck in there. It might be here clumpy a little bit, but it doesn't matter. I figure it's extra like microbiome organism things for your body.
We want every type of fiber we can get to feed these little guys.
Yeah, and I put copious amounts of ginger in, probably more than the recipe calls for, because it's anti-inflammatory. It's so great. And then honestly, I think the key to this recipe is the condiments. We call them sparks, right? Is that what I heard?
Sparks. Yep.
Sparks or things that elevate the flavor. So for me, elevating the flavor at the end of this dish is really, really important. So have you ever used furikake?
Furikake. No, and it sounds nasty, but I'd love to hear about it.
It's basically
furikake. It actually sounds kind of like nasty.
It's actually sesame seeds and nori and a little bit of salt.
That sounds wonderful.
Black and white sesame seeds.
Never judge anything by its name.
You should never judge anything. A little bit of kelp powder, which gives the iodine. And so sprinkle this on top. It's really good. Actually, my son loves to just open this up. Shout out to Langston.
Wow.
Put a little.
Yeah, I bet you Simon Hill would approve of this.
There you go.
And then iodine.
Oh, it's amazing. Oh yeah, your iodine. Absolutely. Think about that all the time.
Wow, that is nice.
Isn't that nice? So this is it right here. I don't know. It's my first time to showcase this amazing bowl. And then, I know we're big on vinegar, right? And vinegar with our greens. Have you heard of this? Can you say it?
Yuzu.
I think, no, yuzu.
Yuzu.
No, yuzu. No, I don't even know what a yuzu is, but it's really good.
Sounds like a car.
Yeah. Maybe we should get a fleet. It's vinegar. So like vinegar in a lemony citrus kind of way. So, and chili pepper. So it's like sweet and spicy, like our sweet fire salad dressing. Oh. Yeah, that we use. So again, these are small amounts because they are condiments, and they might add a little extra sodium in there, but they're great. Or you can just go with, I know that you love, aren't you a sriracha kind of guy?
Yeah, I like sriracha.
Sriracha. In fact, actually, I do the whole Sarno red squirrel thing in there. Yeah. I put everything imaginable in my noodle broth soups at the end to give them as much flavor as possible.
That's interesting. This says simultaneously spicy and citrusy.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's really true. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. I had it on my greens this morning.
Wow. Well, I applaud you for having greens.
Thank you.
In the morning.
I hear they're important.
Yes, you know that. So can I tell you about a dish I made last night?
Yeah, please do.
So we sent out a newsletter yesterday, and it was basically 4 different recipes using sweet potatoes. And one of them was this recipe that we got from Pam Croft, who's like the vegan trail mama. And she submitted this recipe. It's called sweet potato curry. And you make it in an Instapot, and it takes 8 minutes. And it's got 5 ingredients. So listeners, like, either go back and pull up the newsletter or take copious notes right now, because I'm just going to tell you quickly.
Okay.
So we don't have an Instapot. We need to get one, I think. We have a crock pot. So instead of taking 8 minutes, it took us 4 hours. It's like, whoa. Is that even fair?
It is, and I'll tell you why later.
Okay, good. So 5 ingredients, and this is what you start with: the oat milk.
Oh, yum.
And I'm not going to give you quantities right now, but you start with you throw in the oat milk, then you throw in Thai red curry paste, and I was like, oh my God, do we even have that in the house?
Yeah.
And Jill's like, yeah, let's look, and we found some in the refrigerator. Guess what the best buy date was?
Oh, like 2018.
January 2012.
Oh!
January 2012. But guess what? We used it, and it was fine. So then we mixed that in, and we stirred that up. Then we threw in 3 sweet potatoes that were de-skinned, and then we cubed them and threw that in there. So it's kind of layered.
Okay.
And then we threw in 2 cans of chickpeas.
Oh, amazing.
And then we threw in like a couple handfuls of chopped kale. Then you just close the lid, and I'm telling you, it was so delicious, creamy, wonderful, and everybody in the house loved it.
Oh, I'm loving it right now. I'm coming over.
Yeah.
I'll go there now.
So what was the thing you wanted to tell me about the crock pot?
Oh, okay. So I have a hard time with the whole Instapot thing. I get it for convenience, but in my culinary school, we studied some traditional foundational approaches like macrobiotic and Ayurvedic cooking, and those really, really stem from like a long and slow cook with infusion and things. So I have a hard time jumping on the Instapot crowd, even though I know if it gets people to eat more plants and have flavor, I'm all for it.
No, I get it. Something about it seems like doesn't seem quite right. You can cook something in 8 minutes like that typically takes several hours.
Yeah. I was just thinking about when you said your red curry paste was from 2012.
Yeah.
I traveled to Thailand and Laos in 2012. And I took cooking classes there, and we were making our own curries from all the spices and the paste. And then the cooking in Laos was over a clay pot. Most people say Laos, but they told me it was Laos. So Laos was over a clay pot in a fire. So you had to be patient by a running river, the Mekong. So in 2012, when you bought your curry, I was making curry in Thailand.
Wow. Once again, I'm jealous. You're going to Mexico.
Hey,
you're in Thailand making curries.
Living the life.
Must be nice to be Brenda Reed.
Hey, it is right at the moment.
Wow. So we're winding down here.
Yep.
Any last words that you want to like impart to our guests about soups or broths as we go into, the holiday season?
I do. Honestly, it doesn't matter what the recipe calls for or what it has. It's all what you like and your flavor. And you really shouldn't be intimidated by making anything, because soup is just liquid, right? And so it can look like, obviously Rip likes it chunky. I like it a little in the medium area. And so it can look and feel and taste however you want. And I just don't think you should be afraid of it. Go quick or go long. It doesn't matter. And you'll be great. And we're here for you.
And the thing about soups, again, to me, they're so versatile, and you can have them for dinner. You can have them for lunch the next day.
Yep.
Put them on a bed of greens, put them on a bed of brown rice, barley, you name it. So get out there and start making some soups.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you feel like you've accomplished so much when you've made a good soup on a Saturday or Sunday.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, as we're wrapping things up, I want to remind you, go to the episode page at plantstrongpodcast.com, and there you will have access to so many recipes. you'll actually be able to get the recipe for bangin' bok choy that Brenda talked about, and also the veggie paella.
You got it.
It's super exciting as well. And I can't believe I almost forgot. The whole month of November, we are doing a line drive sale across all the broths, the chilies, and the stews at Whole Food Market stores nationwide, $1 off. So go in and be sure to check it out. We also are launching, as of I think today,
Yes.
all of
Exciting.
our broths, chilies, and stews that you can get now at PLANTSTRONGFoods.com. So you can sit in the comfort of your home, order them, and they're drop shipped right to your doorstep. So that's pretty exciting as well. And then one more thing to share with you, and that is this Sunday from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Central Time, we are going to be doing our next Rips Rescue free event. It's all centered around men's health, a change of heart, and I've invited 2 rock star physicians to join me, Dr. Aaron Spitz, who all of you know from the Game Changers film. He is spectacular. He's also the author of the Penis Book. And then we also have Dr. Brian Aspel. Brian is a lifestyle cardiologist. He's been on the podcast. He's been on another Rips Rescue. And he is just such a gem of a human being. And can't wait for you all to meet Aaron and Brian. So again, that's this Sunday. If I've talked way too much, again, just go to the episode page at PLANTSTRONGPodcast.com, and we'll have all this information and more for you. All right, Brenda, thank you again for joining me.
You're welcome, Rip.
Peace Engine 2.
Peace
Keep it
Engine
plant
2.
strong, and we'll see y'all next time. Thanks.